welcome to the latest printed press. I'm Aysen Djemal. I'm bringing you the headlines for today. Our general election update is that Corbyn says leaked documents prove that NHS will be on the table in US trade talks, but the Tories accuse him of lying. The Labour leader said his party had obtained a 451-page document which lays out the details of talks involving UK and US officials. Mr. Corbyn said the paper contradicts the Prime Minister's claim that the Health Service would not be a part of any trade talks with Washington. The uncensored documents leave Boris Johnson's denials in absolute tatters, he told a news conference. We have now got evidence that under Boris Johnson the NHS is on the table and will be up for sale. He tried to cover it up in a secret agenda and today it has been exposed. But the Conservatives accused Mr. Corbyn of out-and-out lying about the contents of the documents, misrepresenting what they say and quoting sections out of context. Still on the general election, record numbers of people apply to register to vote on deadline day. Some 640,000 people registered online, while 18,000 submitted a paper form. This is the largest volume of applications submitted in a single day since registration data was first published in June 2014. A lot of people want to vote in this key election. We at Eurogenge support everyone using their vote and participating. And our final headline is TV chef Gary Rhodes dies with his beloved wife Jenny by his side. The restaurateur appeared on TV programmes including Rhodes Around Britain, MasterChef and Hell's Kitchen. At the time of his death, Rhodes ran restaurants at 2 hotels in Dubai, which also released a joint statement. The teams at the Grosvenor Hotel Dubai and the Le Royal Meridian Beach Resort said they were devastated to learn of his death. Right, and today on our show, I'm very pleased to announce that we are talking about a project called Haven for the Homeless. With us tonight is ERIM METTO. Welcome, ERIM.
Thank you.
Robbie Stevens.
Thank
welcome,
you.
Robbie. And Abbie Beckwith.
Thank you.
Welcome, Abbie. And my first question is going to be to Robbie. Can you tell us the background to the Homeless Project, please?
Sure. I just want to open by saying how is this not an election priority? Why are the politicians not shouting about it, honestly? I mean, homelessness can happen to anyone. According to the last shelter report, homelessness has gone up by 2.5 times since 2009-2010 to 2018. In 2018, 320,000 people were homeless in England and Wales and 726 died. The rise is reported obviously because of austerity and cuts. But the face of homeless is all kinds of people. So working people living in tents, women on the streets because the council told them they made themselves intentionally homeless for walking out on an abusive partner, for example. Migrants homeless because they've been denied access to public funds. People have become homeless after coming out of prison, care or the army. People who've lost private rented accommodation through job losses. Relation breakups, all sorts of things. And I just think that overall it's a really, really big shame that we're living in a world where people turn away from someone that's sitting on a street, homeless, that could freeze to death.
Yes.
Like the figures.
And these are all very tragic sort of stories, and
Yeah.
we've got to remember that, you know, when you see somebody homeless, that these are the statistics, these are true statistics of the reasons why. And I noticed that domestic abuse is right at the top as well. That's one of the main reasons people become homeless, which is, you know, awful. And like you said, people who've actually served for their country are being made homeless because the system is failing them. So, you know,
at the
that's
moment
just...
there's 100 people becoming homeless every week. 100. That's
I
the
mean,
latest.
people.
That's
every
latest
week.
stats.
The,
Yeah.
the other aspect of it is that you can really notice it. So anyone who walks down any main street of
Yeah.
London can see
Yeah.
homeless people on the streets. I mean, the place that I work in Haringey Green Lanes, if you went back 5 years, there was not a single person homeless. You can walk down the street now, wherever there's a bridge, there's people huddling to try and get some warmth and some kind of shelter from the elements that are around them. And this time of the year when it's the worst, because the cold, we're living in homes that are really warm and we've got shelter, we complain if the window's open because a bit of breeze comes in. These individuals have to live with those elements day in, day out, seeing whether they can survive with food or seeing if there's anyone that cares for them, and we look down upon that, unfortunately.
They're one of the most vulnerable people in our society.
Yeah, most definitely.
Disregarded, looked down on, spat at, like I see it. And I think the main thing is that people just turn away from it, don't they?
Most definitely. Yeah.
Which needs to change, really. I mean, my next question will be, what are the general homeless initiatives that you've set into place, and that's to ERIM? Yeah,
I mean, all three of us have been involved with homelessness for a number of years because we've physically seen how homelessness affects individuals within the community. And there's individuals which want to get involved, but they don't know how to get involved. There's a fear around how approachable are homeless people, what can you do for them. So we're just kind of propelling the initiatives that are out there that people want to do. And for a number of years what we've been doing is work related to trying to feed the homeless, trying to give them clothes, trying to give them more support, trying to acknowledge that they exist and they're alive, and that what we want to do this year, and Robbie will come on to that later on, is do something a bit more. And some of the initiatives that are happening out there at the moment, which are from within our community, include that Cyprus Islamic Association, Hussein Hoja, amazing, doing loads of stuff, getting involved with lots of other projects that we don't even hear about in the press, that he's out there trying to make things better for these for individuals which are homeless. But he's doing a number of runs to help feed the homeless, especially in the West End sort of area. He's also supporting us with various initiatives that we're doing. So Hussein Hoja, I think he's got an initiative which is happening on the 21st of December, jointly with the Turkish Cypriot Youth Association, which you've interviewed before on the show. We've also got Muniver Bora, who's kind of been involved with homelessness for a number of years, and she's doing an initiative under the umbrella of Çatı, which obviously means roofing in
Turkish. That's right.
There's various drop-off points that we've kind of put forward for people to drop off items of clothing and bits if they do want to. We're looking at this year, because what we found previously was that we was giving individuals stuff which wasn't essential to them, and it was causing us a lot of problems in relation to sorting out items which may be possibly clean or not. So what we're trying to do is create essential packs of people what they really, really need. And those essential packs contain things like toothpaste, socks, this, that, the other. We have it on TCCA's website, and also I'm sure Haven will have it on their website.
Okay.
With those things we want to distribute. One big thing we're doing is we're linking up with a project called Haringey Hub, which is a project which tries to feed the homeless on the first Friday of each month. They're having a Christmas party. We want to ensure that the homeless get a present, that they acknowledged, and that we actually give them a pack. So we're going to be doing that on I think it's on Friday the 6th of December.
Okay.
There's also a sponsored walk which has been organised. To these two young ladies are kind of focusing on trying to bring that forward. But the sponsored walk, we try to raise money for the project that Robbie will obviously talk about in a minute, and that's going to be trying to support people rather than putting a patch over the situation, trying to kind of sort out a long-term strategy where homeless people are housed. Exactly.
That's great. I mean, we touched upon it a little bit earlier, but Robbie, if I could come back to you about the stigma that's associated with homelessness, can we talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Well, I just see it all the time. I do a lot of fundraising for my theatre and film company, Raw, and I see it on the streets all the time where people just walk past them, don't look at them, don't smile, don't engage, like just ignoring them, all the way through to people being extremely rude, insulting to them. Like, I can't understand why. And Abby, you were going to talk a little bit about that, weren't you? The stigma attached to homelessness.
I mean, there's so much stigma attached to homelessness. For example, people always say it's their fault, that it's their fault they're homeless, that they're violent, that it's their choice to abuse substances, and it's not. They're people, and a lot of the reasons that people are homeless is out of their control. It's because they're in a bad relationship, or they lost their job, It was, you know, it's not their fault. And I think it's really important as well that we're working with young people, because, you know, young people are how the world's going to change. You know, they're the next generation. And so it's just like working with them, we can change their minds and we can show them that actually, you know, the stigma's not true, that there's so much more. You know, homeless people are still people with, you know, people's thoughts and feelings and reactions. So, you know, when people say, oh, no, they're violent, they're dangerous, they're people, they're going to react how you treat them.
Well, that's it, because they're vulnerable and they're scared. Of course they're going to be untrusting of people. And to be honest with you, yes, there are lots of reasons that are out of these people's hands why they become homeless. But you know what? Even if it was their fault, it means that they were vulnerable. It means that they, you know, something went wrong. And as a society, we must not reject anybody, whether it's your personal fault or not.
I think that when you get out there and you start trying to do something that it really has an effect, you do find a lot of really good people, great people that want to come together and help. That's the inspiring thing. So if the government's not doing anything, that's one thing. But bringing a whole load of people in the community together that really do want to create change.
So there are people.
I mean, there's also a situation where, if you think back to, in particular our community, there was strong extended family networks which supported individuals. And if you think how much house prices were in the 70s and 80s, there was strong support mechanisms there that people didn't become homeless because they were picked up by existing mechanisms that were in society. Now in a situation where if you can't find your month's rent, you're out on the street. Where do you go? What do you do? The system doesn't recognise young males, for example, as they need to find their own accommodation.
18 to 35-year-olds are the most.
It's the most vulnerable.
And that's all kind of had knock-on effects. So you think about one person that I was speaking to last year when we was helping part of the homeless initiative, is a gentleman who was in his 60s. He was in rented accommodation. He lost his wife and he went into serious depression. He went out on the streets and lost his home, and he couldn't get back in. So there's a 62-year-old man who's trying to, and he's a very intelligent gentleman. He was working for a university in his younger days, gave so much to society, but yet society can't acknowledge that he needs help and needs to be brought back into the system.
And I think that's what we're going to now talk about with the Haven for the Homeless project, Robbie.
Yes.
Tell us how they're going to be brought back into society, because this is very promising and very positive.
It is great. So as ERIM said, we used to give bags of food around, which was great, but we got to a stage where we thought we've got to do something more. We want to do something that will impact more. And so we thought, okay, what can we do that's going to have the most effect with our time resources and our money resources? And we were visualising doing things in North, South, East, West London, and we couldn't quite see the visualisation of it. It was founded in October just this year. So we wanted to do something before the end of this year. So then we met a fabulous, really inspirational guy called Dan Akins, and he founded Buses for the Homeless 1 year ago. And in 1 year, he's got together what I call his little village, which is 4 buses. One for shelter, one for wellness, one for food, and one for learning. And it's just this amazing project that he's done, and he will be able to have 16 people at a time, 16 guests at a time in that little village. And he will take them through a 3-month kind of course that will eventually rehabilitate them and put them back into society.
I think what will be really interesting is if people can hear what each one of the units does, so the shelter one.
So overall, it's a low-cost holistic solution to homelessness, which is why it's so great, because it's achievable. So if we go first for the buses for shelter, the first one is it has 16 sleep pods, which are all equipped with power, individual lights, pull-down shutters.
I've got a picture there on the screen as well. It's showing for our viewers. So this is buses. There's 4 of them, 4 buses, and there's equipment like for them to have shelter in one of them.
Yeah, shelter. So you have a pull-down shutter for privacy in their sleeping pods. Blackout curtains. They have a lockable storage unit underneath.
Good, right. Okay. So it makes them feel secure, basically, doesn't it?
Buses for dining. Every evening the guests come together and they eat together, which is important because they can then share their stories, their dreams, everything, and they can also sit down and eat food that they've cooked. Right? Then we go on to buses for wellbeing, and I think this is the most important thing, because it's on this that they will have energy healing, yoga, relaxation, classes on how to advise them to keep fit both physically and mentally, and that's the most important thing, because the aim that they've got is to help them identify and overcome the reasons that led to them becoming homeless in the first place. So getting to that root cause of the issue and supporting them through that will go a long way in helping them through to the recovery process. And then finally, buses for learning, which will support their personal growth, their sense of self-worth, self-esteem, by encouraging them to focus on their skills and develop them while staying with them. And so I just want to say that this is such a wonderful thing, and Haven for the Homeless want to, in a year, well after we've helped Dan, so we've decided to put all of our energy towards helping him, putting all of our resources. We want to get £3,000 together to put one person through this for 3 months. Anyone, it just costs £3,000, which at the end of the day is not that much.
No.
And we're doing an event on the 7th, a walk, and we're doing another big event on the 14th where a load of young people come together and perform like children in need, and it's going out live, and that's where we're going to get the money through.
But I mean, I think something else that's really important about this concept inside the ERIM is that it works with homeless trying to feed back into the system. So homeless people, once they qualify and once they go through the system, they'll feed back and help other people who are homeless. So they're feeding back to the system that help them come out of it. And there's a strong acknowledgement around where it would lead into the future. And I think that's a key issue, is that it works with homeless, working with homeless to bring homeless off the streets, I think.
Yeah, I mean, what I like about this project idea is you're not, like you said, you're not pointing a plaster over the issue.
No.
What you're doing is you're actually giving, like, people can actually see how you're helping an individual from A to B to C to actually reintegrate into society.
I mean,
and that's so important, I think, with this project.
I think one other thing that needs to be mentioned is that when the idea came out, because Robbie was really upset that not enough is actually being done on the side, but she really vehemently was upset about it, was the fact that there's so many homeless in the streets, people walk past and nothing happens. And the concept came out of getting a van or a bus where people can be housed, or we can do hair for them, this, that, the other.
Something.
So Robbie went out there looking for what
someone
could
who'd done it, who's done it, who's done this, who's succeeding, who's putting their love and passion. And he believes that you don't have to be qualified or special, you just have to care. And that's at the heart of it. And that's what he's done for a year. He's just put everything into this, and now he's got this little village, and we believe we can do that as well.
I mean,
the
long-term strategy is that is that once we get to a stage of being able to kind of support this project and in a position to kind of move forward with other projects, is to have one in North London, one in East London, one in South London, and one in West London. And that will have a knock-on effect around what else we do, I think.
So, I mean, because that was going to be my next question.
Sure.
What is the future?
Yeah, I mean,
let's expand on that a little bit
So
more.
the future is that there's a concept that currently works. It's a concept that Dan said is not new, and it's been used in other places around the world. It's a concept that looks at utilising existing furniture or equipment that's disused to then utilise to help individuals to create shelter. And there's other projects throughout the world. There's one in Australia which looks at utilising old garages. There's other projects which
old
look
pubs,
old pubs, or there's loads of projects throughout.
Old caravans.
This one works because the fact is that Stagecoach have got numerous buses which have been decommissioned. They're just sitting down, rotting away, doing nothing.
The emission.
And the fact is that these buses can be utilised. Where we would have gone would have been to utilise one bus to do everything, but the concept that he's created is perfect in that you utilise buses which have specialists in certain areas.
Yes.
And by using 4 buses, you ineffectively create a courtyard. So it's like a housing complex that has different sorts of areas and has an outside area. So you create something that feels like a home, feels like a little village, feels like an oasis away from it all. And that really works. So when speaking to Dan, we're working on this project. When we come to do one in East London, North London, shall I say, we've targeted a place called Meridian Waters, which is a concept, an area which is being revitalised. There's lots of land there which won't be used for a long period of time, but it's being knocked down and not used at all. So the idea is that in the future, once we get interest, the level of interest we want to have 4 buses which will be based there. We want to enter into negotiation with local authority, Stagecoach, utilised Dan as one of our trustees on board as part
To
of this
advise us, because he would have
Yeah.
gone through everything
He would
once.
have done it.
Yeah.
And then create another one here, and then possibly in South London, other people would pick up the same concept, and then one in South London, and then be one in West London. There can be connections between all these, because the other thing that Dan's completed with the project is his project is based in land which has been utilised for HS2. HS2 is a big project which does high-speed train access from the north to the south, and there's lots of jobs which are available there. So in effect, by utilising that space, there's a direct contact with the provider that's there that will allow an avenue for people to gain employment. So same will be true in Reading Waters, and it'd be like there's building complex which is happening, there's businesses which are moving into the area which will all need workers. So in effect, by creating this strong link with the local community and existing providers that are looking for individuals to supply to kind of furnish certain roles, there's an automatic supply of people which can be started into those roles. So I think it perfectly works really, really well.
It does, because really, I mean, this is it. I think maybe that's why we've had issues.
Yeah.
And you know, you said you've noticed a real sort of surge of homelessness. I've noticed that, you know, recently, just going into central London, the amount of people that are on the streets is definitely an issue in London, in our local community. And what I like about this project is the fact that it's not just that they're going and having shelter, but there's a process. So they're on one bus. Once they go on to the next bus, they're actually getting some sort of therapy. There's another bus where they can actually start to communicate with people and start trusting people and start talking to people.
It's beautiful.
So it's not just, is it? It's not just shelter. It's beyond that.
What they need.
It's healing them. Because isn't that what homelessness is all about? Is people who've had lots of problems and troubles in their life and they need to be healed. And I think if our audience remember that the next time they see a homeless person on the street, it's not that they're addicted to something.
They didn't choose to be there.
No.
It's not their fault. They didn't choose to be there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that another thing I want to mention is that what we did yesterday is we went to support Dan. So we went to ask him if he wanted any help, this, that, the other. So we went to the Buses for the Homeless project, and what we decided to do was to allow him to give him a voice on the show as well. So Good Eye, thank you very much, came down and filmed him basically giving his words of encouragement and what the concept means to him, what the concept means to people who go through the process. And what I would ask if you had time is just play the video and so people can see.
We can do it now, we'll do it now. We'll play it now, the video. We can watch that.
Our bus for shelter is simple. It kind of says what it does on the tin. It's got 16 custom-built 6-foot sleep pods. Each has its own super comfy mattress. There's a privacy blind, curtains, a light switch, lights and sockets for them to charge their appliances. But most importantly, there's a under pod storage as well. These people don't have a lot of personal possessions and belongings, so what they do have is how very important to them. So our bus for dining, again, says what it does on the tin. This is where we'll teach them how to cook and prepare healthy and nutritional meals for themselves, their family, which is the group of people that come through the program with, and then we'll get them to go out into the community and actually cook and prepare meals for other homeless people. Bubbles is my favorite bus. She's our bus for wellbeing. Now, everything, you know, these people are on the streets. Everybody walks past them on a daily basis and their confidence, their self-belief, their self-worth is just zero. So what Bubbles does is almost strips back the layers of what's going on to identify that root cause of what led them to become homeless in the first place. Our Bus for Learning is really where the whole kind of program takes that next phase. So this is where we'll teach them soft and vocational skills in order to get them back to job ready, touch wood, either apprenticeships, employment, or even help them set up their own businesses. These guys have the skills, they have the tools, they have the knowledge, they just need our help and support to get them there. So your £3,000 will help us transform somebody's life. For 90 days or longer, they'll be with us with a roof over their head, no electricity, no gas bills or anything like that. All of the food paid for, all of the support, the learners, the physical training, the healers, the psychologists. We have a massive lot of help and support throughout this 3-month intensive program, and with your support you can help transform someone's life forever.
I mean, yeah, that's truly spectacular, really. And we were just talking while we were watching that I'd actually like to go and visit and see it, you know, and for us to do some footage, because it's really, really moving, and it's a fantastic idea. Like you said, I think because it's not just something that's there as a one-off. You know, like a lot of these shelters, it's lovely because it takes homeless people off of the streets into the warmth. And that's great, and they get, you know, to eat something and see people. But this is definitely long term, and it actually gets them back into society. And this is what we want. Don't we all want to feel included and be part of something? That's what human beings are about, is being part of a community, and we need to embrace that. And this project does that. My last question is going to be to Abbie about your fundraising, because I think a lot of our audience are going to want to be able to fundraise and help your cause. Can you tell us about the dates, the key dates?
Yes, so it all starts on the 7th of December with our sponsored walk. We'll be walking from Camden around London. So that's going to be really good, and we've got a GoFundMe for that. And then all through the week we're going to be fundraising, we've got different things going on, and then we're going to end it on the 14th of December with a big event. There's going to be performances, spoken words, singing, all the young people are going to be there, and that's really going to raise awareness, and we're going to have fundraising all night there. It's going to be like amazing, it's going to be really good.
You said there'll be a fundraising page, will that be on the website? Where will that be for people to be able to give funds to that?
Yeah, if you go to GoFundMe and put in search Haven for the Homeless.
Haven for the Homeless, and do we have that logo behind us as well, I think? Haven for the Homeless, so that's the logo that will come up. If they write that up on the internet, it should come up on the website.
On the GoFundMe.
GoFundMe, right, so they need to go on GoFundMe and write that in, Haven for the Homeless, and you've got your first sponsored walk, so they can actually sponsor you for that.
And I think we've got a link coming up in a minute to show you that, and also an email address that people can email if they can't get through to that GoFundMe page.
And also the performances, is that open to the public, or is that, again, is it a fundraising page? How will that work?
It's the same fundraising page, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all the same, yeah.
I mean, one thing to mention about that is that thankfully Gench TV are kind of going to be partners within that, so they're going to be live streaming it for the full 2 hours. We're going to try and create the £3,000 as the limit that we want to achieve. If we get 6,000, we will house 2 homeless people.
I hope so.
So while the show's going on between the hours of 6
p.m. and 8 p.m. on the 14th.
It'll be live streamed from Gench TV, so you can watch it, donate, get more people to donate, and we just need to reach that to help at least one person. 2, 3, 4, fantastic.
Yeah, how much do we need to be able to help one person?
£3,000.
3,000. So that's like, if we get 6,000, we can help 2 people. If we get 9,000, we can help 3 people, right? And I think, why not? Why not? We help as many people as we can. You know, you change one life, you change another life. It's all connections. And like I said, I think it's been very moving for me tonight, because this is something that I have really recently noticed, how many homeless people. It was something that I've talked about with my friends, with my loved ones, and actually to have you come on and talk about this project, and the fact that there is hope gives me hope, and the fact that these people who are out, you know, in these winter months, like you said, not only will they be able to get shelter, but they'll be reintegrated into society. So it's been a really worthwhile programme. Thank you very much for coming on my programme. Hopefully, like I said, we will be live streaming and supporting you with the fundraising, and obviously we would like to see you come back on the programme and tell us about how it progresses. It's been great.
Thank you.
Anything else you'd like to say
Thank
at
you
all
so
at
much.
the end? No? Okay, thank you very much. That's it from us from Gench TV. Have a very good evening. Goodbye.